You are live with the App Show. Mike Agerbo here. I've got some app nerds with me today. I've got Graham Williams and John Biehler. We have an interesting show. I'm going to be talking about my trip down to San Francisco, where we got to get our hands on the new Samsung phones that they've just launched.
Ooh. Amazing
Cameras in these new ones. It's their S20 line, and the cameras are going to blow you away. But at what cost? I'm finding it interesting, guys, because these phones, I mean, they are amazing. The technology is amazing, but the price for a new flagship phone is just gone through the stratosphere now.
Well, I think, the idea that we used to replace our phones every 2 years, it kind of made sense that you had a $300-$400 phone. If we're stepping up into the $900, $1,500, $2,000 range, I kind of want my phone to last longer than that. I don't actually need a new one every 2 years.
It doesn't, though. Come on. Okay. I know you.
Yes.
I know you, Graham.
Yes.
You love phones.
Yep.
And so you're going to spend on the latest iPhone, for example, $1,500.
Yep.
Next year, when they come out with the iPhone 50, whatever, you're going to get that one too.
So here's the thing, though, is I've always bought my phones outright.
Yes.
Right? So I paid the $1,500. Now, I sold my two iPhone 10s when I got my iPhone 11 Pros. Do you know how much I sold them for?
I want to hear that, and then I want to know why you have two of them. But how much did you sell?
$700 each.
Okay, so you got almost half your money back.
So realistically speaking, these were $800, for these phones each over the course of 2 years. It runs about $1.10 a day for a device that I pretty much live on.
That's my justification too, is that these devices are arguably used way more than your laptop.
Yeah.
Because you use them everywhere. They're always attached to us. And they need to perform.
They get kicked down a flight of stairs. My cat steps on it. Absolutely. So while the price is up there, you could do a couple of things. You could keep your phone for longer, which I think a lot of people do. I just replaced my parents' iPhone SEs with some iPhone 11s, and they are ecstatic about it. And they've had those things for 4.5 years. So, the price is up there. But the question is then, can we as consumers exercise, this is the word here, self-control and not buy a new phone every year?
Let's look at some of the other app news or the mobile world news. Do you remember the Essential phone?
Yes.
Yes.
So this was a company started by ex-Google founder Andy Rubin, who started this company a few years ago. I guess we found out along the way why he left Google. It was to do with sexual harassment issues. And I think those are still pending out in the world right now. But I actually went down to the launch of his new Essential smartphone company. And this was, I think, back in 2017, so a couple of years ago. And went down to California and checked this new phone out. It's an Android phone.
Yep.
It was so awesome. I loved it. And the idea was that it had a smart little connector on the back. You could add little Essential add-ons.
Right.
And so one of them was like a little 360 camera that could shoot photos in 360 degrees. And it was pretty cool. But the phone itself, I loved it. It was beautiful, sleek, and it ran stock Android as well. So you got fast updates to it.
And it was pretty inexpensive compared to others that are about the same, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, they tried to come out at the premium price.
Right.
They dropped pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Obviously, because they weren't selling enough.
And that was the one that you could only buy by invite only, wasn't it? There was some invite thing that they had.
Very exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to find a golden ticket in a chocolate bar, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I was impressed. And it was actually one of the first ones that had the little notch camera as well.
Yeah.
Which, the iPhone came out with, pretty soon after. But it was a beautiful phone. Well, Essential, the phone company, is dead. Unfortunately, it's shutting down. And it's unfortunate because it's good to have the competition out there.
Yeah. I mean, I think the idea here of, having these widgets that you kind of connect up to it, it's kind of cool. But I know for myself, I no longer wear my Batman utility belt. So carrying all of these pieces with me wasn't something I would kind of do on a regular
and Motorola
basis.
tried something similar with their
Moto Mods.
Moto Mods.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea.
It's still going, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, and this kind of, this is where I get to be, get off my lawn land, is the idea, again, of moving parts in cell phones, replace like, clip-on parts in cell phones. I just kind of want a slab of glass and metal. Am I crazy?
No. They were trying to launch a new phone called the Gem, and I kind of liked it. It was smartphone, but it was kind of half the screen size. I mean, tall and thin, but kind of half.
Like a Twix bar.
Looks like
Like the
one
old
part
candy
of
bar
a Twix
phones.
bar, maybe a little wider than that.
Yeah.
It looked beautiful.
Yeah.
And so this is something they're trying to develop. They showed it off last August, and no, that all is dead.
That's a shame. I wonder if anyone's going to pick up the IP on this, because it sounds like they've done a ton of work. And if you're going broke, you might as well sell what you got.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I'm sure some Chinese company
TCL
will come out with something there. Okay, we still have a lot to talk about on today's app show. Later on, we will be talking with a guest about Mobile World Congress. This is a conference that John and I have been looking forward to going to in Barcelona, Spain, canceled because of the coronavirus. We're going to talk about the outfall from that, because this was the big show that all the smartphone manufacturers, app developers, carriers went to every year to do all their deals and do all their announcements. And now that's toast this year because of the coronavirus fear. So we're going to talk about the impact that's going to have on the industry. But coming up next, I'm going to tell you about my trip down to San Francisco. Got to check out the new Samsung phones. Will you spend $1,800 on their latest 108 megapixel super dynamic deluxe phone?
Phablet.
It is awesome, but we'll talk about where the industry's going as far as price. You're listening to the App Show here on the Chorus Radio Network. Back after this. You're back with the App Show. Mike, John, and Graham here. Just down recently this week at the Samsung Unpacked event, they announced a couple different phones, the S20 and the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. And I flipped over this. So I want to get something out of the way right now. It's $1,800. Okay.
This is becoming a theme.
But it's I don't know. It won me over. Do you remember when we talked about, and we actually got to try the Motorola Razr? It's the new version that has a folding screen.
We were pretty gushy about that one.
Yes.
Because it's like they got it right. It felt good in your hand. It had some neat features, but you've surpassed that now with the Flip.
I have, and I'm so happy that they've taken it to another level. And so the one thing about these other ones we've looked at, including the Motorola, we looked at the Galaxy Fold, which is like a phone that turns into a tablet. Same with the Huawei Mate X phone that turns into a tablet.
Yep.
Amazing engineering, and I just love them. And they're all $2,000 plus. Okay, so this technology is still in its infancy. The challenge I had with them, I love the engineering, but I didn't want to carry around a phone that turns into a tablet. It's just huge. And so what I loved about the Motorola Razr, it was like the flip phone from yesteryear.
Yeah.
Right? It flips into a nice small size, stick it in your pocket. The Samsung one, it is sexy. It is sexy as hell, and it's well built. So the problem with these other ones is the screen. It's not glass. It's like a polymer, like a plastic, because you can't fold glass. So I don't know what voodoo magic Samsung is using. They're using thin glass technology. It's actually a type of glass. I don't know how they're bending it. I don't know who made what deal with the devil to make that happen.
Well, you can get screen protectors that are glass.
Yeah.
But they're not, they are flexible, but
They don't fold.
they don't fold.
Right. And so we're talking like a full on, 0 degree fold. We're not like this is sandwiched on top of itself.
It is gorgeous. And so you just have to feel it. And we'll go to our website, getconnectedmedia.com. We will have a link there, or better yet, go to our YouTube page and check it out. Because I've got my hand, I actually got to try one out and flipped it, open a number of times. And so the glass, it's nice having the glass. It's just solid. And the hinge on it is freaking amazing. They've got this special filter system in there, so dust and dirt can't get into it.
Okay.
And it just folds so nicely.
So, because that was one of the big challenges with the Galaxy Fold was there was dust and debris getting inside of that hinge. So it's nice to see that they've addressed that. How is the sort of snappability of this thing? Can you kind of snap it open like Captain Kirk?
I imagine you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got what called flex fold technology as well. So like your laptop, you can basically put it to any degree.
And it'll stay at that angle.
Yeah. And so it's actually great for selfies or like for like doing video chats on it as well.
You can just kind of put the phone down and
Yeah.
it's propped
And
up.
if you're watching a YouTube video, the top part will have the YouTube video if you've got it folded kind of like open. And the bottom part, you can do comments and things. So there's a lot of apps that are going to be taking advantage of that. And then when you open it up, it's like a full 6.7-inch screen on it. And it's beautiful. It's thin. It's not like crazy brick size.
And I think the other thing too that sets this one apart is that it's not a mediocre Android phone. It's a quality performance Android phone
Yes.
that folds in half.
It's got solid guts inside.
12 megapixel camera on the back,
Nice.
wide, ultra wide, and 10 megapixel front facing camera for selfies.
Okay.
So it's beautiful. When you flip it down or like close it down, it's got a tiny little display on the bottom that will help you do selfie mode even with it closed, or send you little notifications, text messages and emails will come right up on that. And yeah, it's gorgeous. Like they have, I think coming to Canada, black and purple, but you know which one? I loved the gold one. It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, when they saw the gold, they're like, oh.
Because the black seems to me like that'll be just a fingerprint magnet.
Okay, make no mistake. They're all fingerprint magnets. And I think I know why now, because they're like mirrors.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like a fashion accessory.
Yeah. All right. See, what I would like again is one with a gold bottom, gold top, a black bottom, and just have it make that noise as I flip it open.
Okay.
Samsung, you do that. If you're listening, you will get my money.
Okay, we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how the coronavirus has brought down an enormous tech conference happening in Spain. Mike Agerbo here with John Biehler. Want to talk now about the coronavirus and a big conference we were supposed to go to. Mobile World Congress happens every year in February. It's like the big smartphone show of the world.
It's like the CES of the mobile world.
Exactly. A lot of the manufacturers there, they go to launch new smartphones and technologies. And unfortunately, with the coronavirus problem we're having globally, over the past few weeks, we saw manufacturers drop out one by one by one. Started off with LG and ZTE dropping out, from their press conferences and for most of the show. And it just kept going and going. The conference kept saying that they're going to go ahead because obviously that's a lot of money to them. I think over 100,000 people go. And the city of Barcelona obviously wanted it to keep going too because I think it was close to $400 to $500 billion in revenue the show brings in to the city.
Half $1 billion.
What did I say?
You said 500 billion.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I have the coronavirus. On the line, we've got a guest. His name is Anshel Sag. He is with Moor Insights and Strategy. And he is an expert in the mobile space and knows a lot about the Mobile World Congress as well. Thanks for joining us today, Anshel.
Thanks a lot for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
So this is would have been my second conference. I went last year. I found it pretty cool, like just all the different types of mobile devices that were being announced, all the 5G technology. What kind of impact will this have on the industry, do you think, in 2020 now that this is canceled?
I think it's going to have a pretty significant impact. I think it'll impact the smaller companies more than the big ones, because this show is really where a lot of the small companies go to get access to the executives at a lot of these bigger companies. And when I say bigger companies, I mean smartphone vendors, I mean carriers, and I mean the infrastructure companies that sit between both of them, because this is basically the mobile show. But mobile isn't just about phones. It's about the networks and who helps build them and who supplies those components. And everybody's at the show and everybody's meeting with everyone in the ecosystem. And sometimes this show is the only time in the year when all these people are in the same place at the same time. And not having that interconnectivity really hurts the small guys. The big guys, less so. But I can tell you from my own experience that it's very hard to get a lot of these executives to be in the same place at the same time. So some of the consortiums and some of the industry groups will only have their meetings during this week because they know this is the only time they can get all the important people from all the different players in the industry in the same place at the same time.
Well, to your point there, and I know a lot of people in the industry, for them, it's all about the deal making that happens, even outside of the conference as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of deals that are made. The truth is, most of these deals are already in progress, or they haven't even been kicked off. But at one point or another, a deal is either sealed or started at this show. There are other shows over the course of the year, but this is without the doubt the most important one. And if you're covering mobile, there really isn't a more important show.
Do you think this is going to affect the show and shows like this going forward? A lot of people are saying, why do we even need these shows when you can do a lot of these meetings, through Skype or on the phone, video chatting, what have you?
I think there's some validity to that, because there is a lot of communications. A lot of people are figuring out how to do Zoom chats and a lot of these different forms of telecommunication and collaboration that really haven't existed before. That said, though, I can tell you that a lot of the executives that work for most of these companies, they're not anywhere but there during that week. So a lot of times it's really hard to nail down an executive to meet with, because their schedules are ever changing. But when it comes to a specific trade show that's important to the company, they're going to be there. And that's the opportunity to meet with that person, almost guaranteed.
It was interesting, John. You and I were watching this over the past few weeks going, is this thing going to happen or not? And a lot of these companies were pulling out because they were concerned about the safety of not only their employees, but all their customers as well. The conference themselves, they just kept pushing forward saying, it's happening, it's happening. And now that they've canceled it, now it seems they're suddenly concerned about all the safety
Right.
and the welfare of the participants. But before that, you really didn't hear much about that.
Well, the other thing I'm concerned about, and I'm wondering about too, is a lot of people got burned this week when they pulled the plug, because a lot of people, us ourselves included, have non-refundable tickets.
Yes.
And bookings had to be made for Airbnbs and hotels and all this other stuff, not to mention all the stuff that happens around a trade show where they're booking out, hotel rooms for meetings and restaurants for, parties and all that kind of stuff. It's just, people are going to be really reluctant unless the coronavirus is completely gone next cycle, before they're going to want to go all in on this type of thing again.
I just wonder, about the conference organizers themselves. They are going to be out millions of dollars here. This is going to be a huge financial blow. And I think for a lot of companies, they wouldn't be able to withstand that kind of blow financially.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the truth is MWC is the GSMA's biggest show of the year. It's their primary moneymaker. So they obviously wanted to do everything within their power not to cancel the show. But the thing is that the GSMA is effectively run by most of the European operators. They're on the board of the GSMA. And if they make that call, which is what I heard is what was happening, if they make the call, then the GSMA has to abide by it because they're in charge. I think that there's a chance that the GSMA will have a very difficult 2020 because of that. But I have a feeling that they're now they're only now starting to figure out what and how they can mitigate this cancellation, because they need the money. They need the industry to meet in their forum. And the truth is they do put on a pretty good show, and it's pretty well organized. So no, I don't think really anybody questions that. I think the biggest issue for them has really been that they kind of handled this communication process pretty poorly. And I think that a lot of people were kind of confused by what was going on, and they took a long time to come out with an official statement. For example, I think when the thing got canceled, everybody found out from Bloomberg first, and then the Financial Times, and then everybody got the GSMA notice, which kind of seems a bit backwards.
Well, we are under press credentials as well, and it took a full 24 hours for me to get my email saying that it had been canceled, the official email. I mean, I certainly heard about it elsewhere through other things that I had signed up for, saying, hey, we're pulling out because
it's canceled.
It's canceled. I'm like, oh, well, that would be good to know from the source, so.
Yeah, I actually figured that it was canceled, before Bloomberg even made the announcement, I started getting a couple canceled invites. So someone else, I'm not going to name one of my who I was meeting with, but they knew because they already started canceling meetings, and I was like, something's going on. And then like 5 minutes later, boom, the Bloomberg thing came out on Twitter.
So do you think now some of these companies might, at least the big, say, handset makers, they're going to stay with having their own events? You know, like Samsung just had their Unpacked event when they launched their S20 line. It's got to be really expensive for them to be, you know, doing their own show where they bring everybody in for that, and then they have to go to MWC, and then they have another product to launch. You know, it's like just like kind of how Apple pulled out of everything and just they do their own thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think this was probably a good value for a lot of those companies. But to your point earlier, Anshel, it's the small companies that are really going to take this hard, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how a lot of these companies operate, the larger ones at least, a lot of them have insurance for their booths. They have insurance, you know, for example, you know, a lot of these companies have refundable tickets. I have a refundable ticket, so I canceled my Airbnb, minimal penalty to me. But the thing is that I talked to a lot of smaller companies, and they were the ones who really are taking the hit because they can't afford to book refundables. They don't have tons of insurance, and you know, this is their chance to meet with all of the operators and all of the 5G companies. And really, this was going to be the big 5G show of the year, and now it's like, okay, what do we do now? Because the next show is going to be Computex, and that's even up in limbo now because it's Taiwan, it's across the water from China, and it's a PC centric show, but at the same time, it's only 4 months away, 5 months away, and that's kind of close considering there's most of the factories in China haven't even reopened yet, and a lot of the employees haven't gone back to work, and that means everything has been pushed out at least another 2 to 3 weeks. If you remember, this kind of happened around Chinese New Year, or this started to gain momentum around Chinese New Year. So, like, some people haven't been to work in like a month.
It really has affected, not only the tech industry, but many parts of the economy. And we're still just kind of grappling with how that's going to roll out over the coming year and years. Anshel, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Anshel Sag, he is with Moor Insights and Strategy. When we come back from the break, it's John's App Pick of the Week. You're back with the App Show. Mike, John, and Graham here. A little bit of time left for John's favorite app of the week. What do you got?
So I've talked about this before. Gboard, iOS, Android. It's a free keyboard from Google that's themable, changeable.
And so this is the cool thing about Android phones especially, but you can do it on iPhones now.
Yeah.
You can replace the keyboard that you use to type messages.
Yeah. So I have one of my favorite photos I took in Palm Springs as my backdrop. You can change the color of the keys, all that kind of stuff. But they've made a new update that allows you to merge emojis. So you can take a happy face and put a cowboy hat on it. You can take a cactus and put a dog on it.
Science has gone too far.
For all the 14-year-old girls out there listening.
Trust me, you're going to see these hybrid mashup emojis everywhere.
I'm quietly installing it right now.
Yeah. It's
Again,
cool.
Gboard.
And it's free.
Okay. And so the latest one.
The latest one from Google, and it's completely free.
It's all the time we have left for the show. I want to thank John, Graham, Stephen, and Christina for helping put the show together. We'll see you again next time. Hey, you like our podcast? Then you need to subscribe to our channel so that we can keep making more great ones.
And if you hit the little bell, you'll get notified when we have a new video up for you.
And if you check out the video version, you get to see special lookouts to the audience right at you.
That's creepy. But subscribe anyway.